11 minutes until we are finito with a wild 10-year ride. I spent last night and a good chunk of this afternoon rewatching part 2. And the first thing I had in my head is like, okay, we're going to dissect this. We're going to add a few new things to our theory notepad, which I'll get to in a minute. But my scope with this is, where did it all go wrong? Because as you guys saw in my Volume 2 reaction, and really social media really ripped part 2 apart, I looked into, okay, where did it go wrong? And the simple answer is nothing. It just didn't meet expectations that we set for it, and I'm not going to do that in the finale. I'm going to go in with virtually no expectations. I have no idea what's going to happen. The way the Duffer Brothers are teeing this up, it is going to be some crazy thing out of left field that virtually nobody has come up with, and it's going to tug at our heartstrings and do the emotional closure thing, and I have faith that it's going to wrap up just fine. What my main concern is, I mentioned the pacing in part 2, right? With how we don't know the whole backstory with Vecna, Henry, whatever you want to call him. And in part 1, we were alluded to an Oklahoma play that Joyce Byers back in the 50s kind of helped run. I think, here's my theory, I think Joyce did something to piss Henry off after he got infected with these powers or whatever it is. I kind of alluded to a Spider-Man kind of power gain. It's almost like Venom. I think there's some kind of a symbiote in that case that the Doctor had and it infected Henry. I think with that Oklahoma play, we're going to see it. We saw a sneak peek in the final trailer that dropped yesterday of like curtains dropping. We're going to see part of the play. I think Joyce does something to piss Henry off, and Henry remembers that in the 80s when he needs a child to take. Who better to take than the child of somebody who pissed you off in high school? I think Joyce did something that she's not fully privy to, and I think that's how all that started. That's one of my theories there. As far as how everything was structured in Volume 2, the main complaint from people was about the pacing. Yes, I understand. I get it. However, I think that it had to be done that way to flesh out these characters more. Even with Holly and Max, not running up the hill, but strolling down Main Street. Not even strolling down Main Street, just loitering by the corner mark because they weren't moving. That proved, first of all, I watched Max's body language as she was looking at kind of the window to the real world that Lucas was holding her. I think when Max saw that, she saw, hey, I'm not in the bed anymore. I'm being carried by Lucas. I'm safe. I am in a safe place, and I don't see anything in my stimuli around me. I feel that I can kind of stop and talk to Holly, and I think she kind of realized that, yeah, this is my way out. This isn't Holly's way out. So she talked Holly through it. And yes, it did take a few minutes. It took a little bit, but I think that was some fleshing out that the writing needed to do. Also, rewatching the breakup scene with Jonathan and Nancy. I didn't think they fully broke up. I thought it was more of a Ross and Rachel take a break kind of thing. But the Duffer Brothers confirmed that it was a true breakup with those two, and I rewatched the scene, and I'm like, okay, yeah, because you kind of know what to look for in some of the language there between Jonathan and Nancy. I really like how that was done, and I stood by it before, I'll stand by it now. That coming out scene with Will was fantastic. And what really breaks my heart is how many, frankly, homophobes out there and small-minded people review bombed the 7th episode and made it the worst episode in the whole library of Stranger Things purely because of that one scene. Now, the pacing thing, I can understand why people are frustrated with that. Yes, it seems kind of awkward and drawn out, but the reason the Duffer Brothers spent so long writing that scene and an entire day shooting it, it is of paramount importance to Will's story and how he overcomes his own fears and how he beats Vecna. That is of paramount importance to how this is going to go down. So I rewatched it. I look back and I'm like, wait a minute. The only thing I got pissed at was the fact that nobody died. Some people are going to die in the finale. Like, there's no chance that we get out of this without somebody not dying. I still stand by the Loki-style sacrifice theory that I've had since going into the season. Before Callie and Elle had that conversation and said that we need to end the cycle, we need to lock ourselves in the abyss and make sure this doesn't happen again. I stand by that. I think that's what's going to happen there. And I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I think Callie is 1,000% right about everything. And Hopper needs to step aside with this. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that. But I was adamant at the end of season 2 when it came out, before I was even a YouTuber. I'm like, Callie's going to come back at some point. She's going to impact this in some kind of way, and it's going to be a huge part of the show. We finally got to season 5, and we're there. And this is all happening, and we need to remember that Callie has the best interests of Elle at heart. I think there's a very small chance that she does something that turns on everybody, but I don't think so. They are quite literally sisters with the way that their biology worked with all of those experiments. So I truly believe that Callie, in her mind, has the best possible intentions for Elle. And I think a lot of people don't get that. They're like, oh, Callie's so awful. I hope she died. No. Callie's right. Callie's right about everything. And y'all just don't want to admit it. This is how the cycle breaks. Whether that's actually what happens, we'll see. I don't think I missed anything with my notes. Yeah, trust Callie to look out for Elle's well-being unless she gives us a very solid reason not to. One last thing, about 3 minutes till showtime here. There are things that Vecna has not let Will see since season 1, season 2. That's just the way that things have gone. I think when Will was trapped in the Upside Down this most recent time, there's something that we still don't know that Will saw, because he said, oh, Vecna had me see all my memories and my fears and whichever. I think there's still something that either Will omitted or something that he saw that Vecna then chose to hide and, like, pluck from his memory or something. I think there's going to be an ace in the hole for Vecna in that way, that Will is still going to do something or not be aware of something that he's already seen, but Vecna kind of wiped it from his memory. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think Henry will in some way be redeemed. I think he'll die toward the end, but they made very clear in part 2 that he's not the main evil. This evil was forced upon him. And I think in some way Henry will redeem himself in this final episode. So, okay, deep breaths, everyone. I've got my tissues. I've got my Takis. I've got a Comfort Crumble cookie, or at least what's left of it. See you on the other side, wherever that may be. That was good. That felt fulfilling. A lot to unpack there with 2 hours. Above all else, very fitting that Joyce cut off Vecna's head at the end. That felt very fitting. Very strategically placed F-bomb. I respect that. I'm glad that we got to see the happily ever after with someone. I love how they wrote Steve, sex ed teacher / baseball coach. That feels very fitting. It sucks that Callie died. She deserved better than that. I did find it kind of weird at first that Elle disappeared. It didn't seem like she was hit with, like, blunt force trauma or anything when the Upside Down collapsed inward on her, but I also thought it was really cool how she turned the gun on that army officer, too. That was really cool, but no, that feels very satisfying. I cried when when Jim proposed to Joyce. About freaking time, dude. Took you 18 months after all that to do that. I'm glad that Elle made it out. The Duffer Brothers found a good way to wrap that without an insane amount of death. You scared me there a couple times with Steve, with the fall, and Dustin almost getting crushed by that huge whatever the heck that thing was. That was really cool that they wrote that big spider, crab arachnid thing, whatever you want to call it. As it curled up like this and then curled out from the main fortress. That was really cool. I suppose it makes sense that it was just a meteorite that kind of affected Henry the whole time. I mean, scientifically, that makes the most sense. They were probably studying it and were trying to get it somewhere. I just don't know how that scientist fell in a cave. You know, maybe that's what the spinoff is about. Because I know they're working on a live-action spinoff about new characters. So, we'll see. Dustin's graduation ceremony, chef's kiss, gave homage to Eddie. As soon as graduation was involved, I figured that there would be some kind of flipping the bird with the diploma, but that was perfect. I find it really cool that Karen wore a nice sundress to the ceremony, proudly showing her scars. I love that for Karen. Usually people try and hide huge scars like that. Karen wears them proudly, and it's nice to see that Ted made it out of the coma as well, even though the only line we heard from him was language. And to end it all, the next generation of D&D players takes their place at the table after the OG manuals are put in place, reminiscing on old friends, new adventures to come, and knowing that they'll be alright and having faith that the mage is safe. Which she is. That was good. I really like that. That did not go in the direction I thought it was going to go, but I am satisfied. I will say, I liked Season 4 better. I feel like it was much more cinematic, much more dramatic. I like stuff like that. I'm very disappointed that the Duffer Brothers did not use the final countdown in this episode by Europe. It literally came out at almost exactly the same time all of this was going on in the show. That was a huge miss. I had a YouTube short prepared and everything. I'm so mad I didn't get to use it. Missed opportunity for that song. But other than that, I really, really like that. Yeah, I'm gonna debrief with my family. It's 3 hours till the new year at this point, but that feels like a very fitting way to wrap 2025, especially with some of the stuff we've all been through this year. We made it through some dark stuff with cautious optimism for the future. So, with that being said, thank you all for joining me for this Stranger Things finale reaction. I look forward to see what the Duffer Brothers create next with this universe. There's new stories to be told, and I'll be there, and I hope that you're there with me too. Peace out.